Well, let's just tell you a little bit more about that terror encounter. The powerful ISIS module called the Khorasan module and its operations has been exposed post the train blast in Ujjain. Prima facie officials say that the IED that was used in the train blast may have been made at Saifullah's hideout in Lucknow. Forensic teams are now visiting both Thakurganj and Ujjain to ascertain this. In fact, there were explosives that were recovered at Saifullah's house and also from the suspects arrested in Etawah. Meanwhile, officials by the ISIS module have around 20 operatives in the country. At least 6 people have been arrested both from Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. Massive raids also continue to go on across the country to nab the absconding suspects. And in a big development in the Ujjain train blast probe, authorities have confirmed that the suspects who planted the bomb were indeed from the terror group ISIS. Reportedly, authorities have managed to get their hands on a photo of the bomb that was sent by the terror suspects to Syria from their phone. The officials found this image in the sent items of the suspect arrested from, in fact, the area. The suspects reached Bhopal via train, planted the bomb on board the Bhopal-Ujjain train. As soon as they planted the bomb, they made a run for it, taking a bus from the train station to Peparia. In fact, the 12-hour-long encounter in Lucknow's Thakurganj ended after the ISIS terror suspect Saifullah was gunned down by the security forces. And India Today has accessed the first and exclusive images of the terrorist who was taking shelter in that house. An ISIS flag, arms, ammunition, apparatus for making bombs has also been recovered from that particular house. The UP ATS also retrieved a map of the Indian Railways from the room which was Saifullah's home for the last 4 years.
We are standing against this huge wall that is actually the backside of the house where this terrorist operation took place in the wee hours of the morning on the 8th. This small hole that you see is not a natural hole. It has been drilled by the ATS. This is the big hole through which they tried to insert. They did insert a camera to see whether Saifullah was active and he was trying to counter the entire attack. If you see the other hole above, that also was drilled by the ATS to get another view at about 2:30 a.m. in the morning to see that whether Saifullah would be moving around in the house. And this is the entire store area. The back side is the store area, the front side is the room, and to get an access into the room, they had actually drilled up on the terrace, but they couldn't get a hang of what's happening inside in the store because Saifullah apparently did move from the room to the store. But if you look at this entire wall, there is no window, no space to get some free air, to get some light, and the entire big wall is just full of bricks. It's not even plastered, so a clear indication of an attempt to try and maintain secrecy. As far as the ATS is concerned, after 2:30 a.m. they drilled this hole and got a confirmation that Saifullah was not very active. They stormed into the house and then Saifullah was killed in the terror operation. With video journalist Kripal Singh and Ashish, this is Mosmi Singh in Lucknow for India Today. We are getting you exclusive pictures from the terrace of the house where the terror operation took place in the wee hours of the morning, and this is the house where actually Saifullah was holed up. That's the location where actually the entire hole was dug. This is the area. You can see already the ATS has filled it up with stones. And that's the place where actually the tear gas and chili powder shells were thrown from. This area, we'll try and locate where this area is actually. If you come here and look at this entire house, that hole was actually coming to that store which is locked now. So it wasn't really coming to the main area, this room, where Saifullah just might have been in the beginning. You can see a slipper lying, some clothes lying there, a Discover bike, which is CP9704 number plate. That bike is there. This looks like the washroom area, the back side. Remember this wall that we were showing you is where the ATS had to actually make a hole from the back so that it could actually carpet bomb with gas the entire house. We'll try and get a look from this angle and try and show you exclusive pictures of this house. It has a staircase. There you are. It's locked from inside. We can't get inside the house. That's the basin. And the entire area, I believe, has been sanitized. The ATS is moving in to actually, the NIA is actually moving in to gather all the evidences from this house. But clearly, the ATS had a task at their hands, as far as trying to locate Saifullah is concerned. You know, they have weird doors. They don't have those normal doors inside the house. That is strange. You know, generally you would have a wooden door inside a house, but these are all iron doors, and hardly any air that's coming in except the terrace. So that's one safety mechanism perhaps that this house had, and that's one reason why they took so much time. They couldn't have used these grills, one would wonder, unscrew them, because it was an easy way to actually target people who were perched on top on the terrace and trying to do some activity. You could target them from any of these rooms. These are the live pictures, exclusive pictures that we are getting you, and we'll try and show you how we have been able to actually scale up this wall. That's the depth of this wall, and we've tried to scale it up from various areas, and this entire area has been cordoned off. With video journalist Kripal Singh, this is Mosmi Singh in Lucknow for India Today.
Moshmi there getting us that exclusive report from that house where for hours the police negotiated with the suspect. I'm going to go straight across to defense expert RSN Singh, who's joining us now. Sir, Saifullah, an active member of the terror group of ISIS, someone who pledged his allegiance to the deadly terror group. This is perhaps the first strike that we are hearing of and seeing in India. How did, what do you make of the Lucknow encounter and the coordination between the various police forces of various states? Mr. Singh?
I must start by saying, your sister publication India Today had carried out a very incisive story on the new ISI plans to create to cause sabotage in our railway network.
Yes.
And the only thing was not there in that entire write-up was about the ICs. But now this has occurred, and it can be conflated with the story that your sister publication has carried out. Is a brilliant report. I don't know if the government had taken any notice of that report, and if the DGP of UP had read that India Today report, I am sure he would have been a much wiser man, because before this he had been dismissing all these as mere hearsay. But having said that, let me tell you what has happened is that after the ICs has been put into disarray by air strikes and the attack on Mosul,
right,
and in the Raqqa area, they have now melted from there and gravitated towards the Indian subcontinent in a big way.
Right.
So I find most of these groups which are owing allegiance, like Indian Mujahideen
yes,
and others gravitating towards the ISIS, and General Nicholson, who is the US commander in Afghanistan, and
yes,
Mattis, the new defense secretary, in their paper they have said as much. So this is a threat. It's a threat in being, and it will serve nobody's purpose to ignore it or try and diminish the threat in any way.
Absolutely. And Executive Editor Gaurav Sawant is also with us. And Gaurav, how big a threat is this for the security forces? How big a learning is this going to be? Because I believe that this was just perhaps a practice to target the train, and that this homegrown Khorasan module was in fact in for a bigger attack. They had bigger plans to attack India.
The security forces are on top of the situation, considering this Khorasan module was in the crosshairs of the security forces. The fact that Telangana police were tracking them, they were in touch with their activities on the various chat sites. That is how the Telangana police first alerted the Madhya Pradesh police, and then they alerted the Uttar Pradesh police. It's the promptness with which the security forces responded. As soon as the Madhya Pradesh incident took place, the Uttar Pradesh police, the moment they got the information, the ATS came to this house just behind me and they tried to take down Saifullah. Initially, they wanted to take him alive because he was seen as the ringleader or one of the ringleaders of this Khorasan module, and they wanted to find out who are the others. So there were parallel simultaneous raids that started yesterday. Some of these raids are still on today. 2 arrests in Kanpur, 1 arrest took place in Etawah. There are 4 detentions that have taken place in some other places, including some raids that are currently on even in Lucknow. So the security forces are on top of the situation. I've been speaking to my sources. Now, all along, the moment they started plotting ISIS movement, first in Maharashtra, then in Karnataka, then Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, West Bengal, Assam, the security forces have been tracking them very closely. Apart from arresting these terrorists with weapons or explosives, they're also simultaneously trying to de-radicalize them.
Absolutely, Gaurav, and it took the security forces more than 12 hours to neutralize the suspect. In fact, Rahul Kaval, managing editor TV Today, will just explain to us a little bit more about the Khorasan module, this homegrown terror outfit inspired by the ISIS. Rahul, over to you.
This is the image that's been put out by the intelligence agencies that are handling this case. It explains the Khorasan module of the ISIS. The young man at the head of it all, the Amir. Can we just have the color version on the screen, please? Can I have the color version, please? Can I have the color version, please? Atif Muzaffar Al-Qasim Musab Abdullah Khalid. He's a resident of Kanpur. He's a resident of Kanpur. Atif Muzaffar Al-Qasim Musab. He's a resident of Kanpur. He is at the helm of this. On the right is Danish Akhtar. He's a resident of Aligarh in Uttar Pradesh. Below him is Saifullah. Now, Saifullah is the terrorist who was killed at Thakurganj in Lucknow yesterday. So he reports to Danish Akhtar, who also goes by the alias Jafar. He's a resident of Kanpur. Below him is Hussain, who goes by the alias of Hamza Khan. He's from Kanpur as well. Now, linked to these people are the others who've been picked up. Now, let me take you through their names. There is GM Khan. He again is a resident of Kanpur. There's Azhar Khalifa. He's from Kanpur as well. And Faisal Khan from Kanpur. The people who provided the weapons apparently are people who go by the name of Rishu and Rocky. They're the ones who provided weapons to Atif through Azhar. 2 weapons have been delivered. 3 were to be procured. Then there is Fakhre Alam. Again from Etawah in Uttar Pradesh. He's part of the module that provided the weapons. So it explains this module, this flowchart really explains, Avantika, the manner in which these people, partly in Madhya Pradesh, partly in Uttar Pradesh, were working in very close coordination. And at the top of it all, if my camera person Helen just zooms in, is this young kid. You know, his name is Atif Muzaffar. Shocking. If you see how young he is, he can walk you by on a road. You won't even pay attention to him because that's how innocuous he looks. The furthest thing from what you'd expect a terrorist to look like. There's no flowing beard. There is absolutely no sense that, you know, here's someone who could potentially even be dangerous. He looks like a very, very young kid. So that's the flow chart, Avantika, that explains this particular module that's been busted. We're told by the ADG that they believe that Saifullah and his other roommates have been picked up. There are alternate reports coming in which say that there are some more suspects who are still on the loose, part of the larger module. They're still being looked out for.
Right, Rahul, thank you so much for just taking us through that network, the Khorasan module inspired by the deadly terror group, the ISIS. In fact, we will continue to remain on this story. After the short break, we will continue speaking to India Today's Gaurav Sawant and also to Mr. R.S. Singh. Stay tuned. India Today will be right back.